Alright, welcome back to the channel. Another episode of Dirty D's Do's and Don'ts. Today I'm going to tell you about an issue we had with two of our machines. This one is the VF4SS Hawes. It had an issue with powering up. It could not find the spindle orientation, therefore it will not power up. You won't be making money, and that's a big problem. And with our luck, we live in Utah, and the company that deals with maintenance on these are pretty busy, or they're I guess understaffed. Yeah, that's the correct word, understaffed, because typically when we call them to come fix one of these machines, we're looking at about 3 to 5 day wait time. And you talk about that in the machine world, having a machine shut down for that many days, you lost a lot of money. And so I've taken it upon myself to try to fix some of these issues that we've had, and I've learned quite a bit, and it has been very educational. But I thought I would share some of my experiences to help anybody else out there in the world that might need a little bit of help here. So this problem, can't remember the exact code, I wouldn't be able to bring it up on the machine or alarm it out, but it pretty much was something to do with the encoder. And on this, it's located on the top of the spindle, which is on the Z-axis here, up by the fan. So if you take this big cover off right here, which is a little bit of a pain in the ass, be careful not to mess up your release button here for your spindle. And that's another problem people have when trying to work on these. Even the mechanics have problems with them. Be careful with that, but you take that off, and at the top of your spindle motor is a little metal ring, and it has lines in it, and that is read by a little encoder off to the side of it that tells, how fast your spindle is turning. And it also helps find the home position. And so this one has a contactless encoder on it, therefore there's a little bitty gap in between the ring and the encoder itself. Somehow or another, which in the machine world it happens a lot, we had metal chips and stuff get stuck up in there, and it had pretty much shredded it completely. The encoder was jacked up, and when replacing these, they have to replace the ring and the encoder. And different models have different kinds. They have magnetic ones, and they also have contactless ones. This is an older style, so that's what they have. I believe we had a newer style replaced in this to kind of avoid that problem down the road, because Hawes tries to fix problems that they see so they don't continuously happen. And so after telling the crew up in Salt Lake, maintenance company, won't mention their name, but after telling them what the problem was and telling them to bring down the right part, they refused to do so because they thought some incompetent fuck like me wouldn't have the slightest clue what I was talking about, which I don't, and I'll take credit for that. But I very much narrowed down what the problem was and told them to bring the part, and they decided not to. So we wasted $400 and a whole day's worth of work for them to come down and tell us that, yep, that's exactly what it is. So we're going to have to drive back up to Salt Lake, get the right part. So yeah, that's what it was. It was pretty much, the alarm was along the lines of spindle access not found, which was pretty much clarifying that it can't find its home. So if you have an issue like that, that's typically what it is. I mean, I try to keep these machines kind of clean as possible, the best that I can, but the coolant that we run in this is Extreme Cool 251C, which is kind of a oily based coolant. I mean, it turns white after you blend it with water, but it just gets everywhere. God, it's on top of all the machines. It's just this oily residue that just gets everywhere. But it's to help cool and keep the tools cool for more tool life and stuff like that. And yeah, so that's what the problem was on this. So on our TM1P though, we had a Y-axis surface not found. It was a pretty much could not find home on the Y-axis on this guy. And on these smaller machines, they typically, cheaper price, less quality. I mean, this is a belt-driven motor, and we've had a lot of nasty noises come out of this guy. It's got a lot of hours on it, even though you can tell. I mean, we've kept it in pretty good condition. It's a pretty clean machine. I try to take pride in that. If you notice right there, that's the paint peeling off because the workers could not get the right mixture of coolant together, and the coolant will just eat the paint right off if it's too thick. This guy takes the Extreme Cool 335, which is like a blue color coolant. It's not oil based, it's synthetic, and if it's too strong, yeah, you start peeling paint off, sadly. But anyways, on this guy, that's where one of the encoders is, and that's the Y-axis. And this guy, that's just the cover, a protective metal cover that goes over it. But what it has, that L-shaped metal bracket right there, we call that the flag. That flag comes through and goes through into this encoder, this sensor, and pretty much identifies, hey, that's home. This is Y-axis home. Well, when machining metal, steel, it's kind of a magnetic sensor, so it gets steel on it. And once it does that, it can't find home because it's alarmed out pretty much. It pretty much thinks that the flag is stuck in there. So you got to clean that out every once in a while. That wasn't my issue. We only run carbon fiber in this machine. And so I thought maybe it just, it's dirty. Pulled it apart, looked at it, cleaned it, it was fine. Come to find out, somehow or another, the flag back there had gotten bent, and it was too far from the sensor for it to read it, so therefore it couldn't find home and you couldn't power this machine up. So I bent the flag back in a little bit and got it closer to the sensor, and boom, fixed it. And so that was nice to kind of troubleshoot that problem and figure it out on my own. But that's something that I don't even think the engineers or the maintenance guys would know is a serious problem. But that metal flag, I mean, to tell you the truth, that's cheaply designed. Just a metal piece of rod that goes into a magnet. I don't know. I don't like it. But that's what you get when you buy a lower quality machine like this, a smaller 10K spindle. But anyways, so that's what that one was. I don't believe the X-axis runs on the same kind of system the way this is with a flag, but it runs on the same kind of magnetic encoder to find home. So that's what this one was, and glad we got that one fixed. So some of the things you don't want to do though is immediately go into panic mode and start calling the big time maintenance guys that know everything, because you're going to spend an arm and a leg to try to have them come down 3-4 days later just to fix the machine. Sometimes you need to look at it yourself and see if you can't fix it, because you could fix it very easily, be back up and running and making money in no time. So next time you want to try to take care of it yourself. All right.